Hello, hello, Comic Book Nation. I'm Tori Yates, or aka Torio, and I am the newest member of the comic book crew. I'm filling in for Brandon while he's, just hanging out with Robert Kirkman. No big deal. It's cool. I'm totally not jealous. But it's Friday and we have a lot to talk about. Here are your top 5 stories of the past 24 hours. We've got lots of Marvel news, X-Men in the MCU, a new Captain America, Thor Ragnarok, Hell in a Cell, and Glenn just blacked out, right? I'll explain. With Doctor Strange opening next week, we are getting all the Marvel news. Kevin Feige spoke with the Collider and gave us some insight into what to expect for the MCU. For all of you hoping that we might get the X-Men in a Marvel film, I got some bad news. Feige said that Marvel's relationship with Fox has not changed, which means we aren't going to be seeing any X-Men in Infinity War or in any other Marvel films anytime soon. We had some hope with Marvel bringing in Spider-Man and their relationship with Sony, but Fox and Marvel, it ain't happening. I'm bummed, but not surprised. A Captain America film without Steve Rogers? In his interview with Collider, Feige said it's a possibility. With Chris Evans' contract coming up, the question was asked, does a Captain America film have to star Steve Rogers? Feige said, it's a good question, and if we look back at the comic books as our inspiration, then the answer is no. So, could we see a Marvel film with Bucky or Sam as Cap? Not so fast, Feige said. I'm not saying we'll do it in the movie, but I've read Captain America comics that don't have Steve Rogers in them. I see what you did there. Nice save, Feige. Nice save. Some Thor Ragnarok news. We get our first look at Valkyrie and more hints that we might get the Planet Hulk storyline. Director Taika Waititi, Chris is absolutely right, that is the most fun name to say, did a Facebook Live from the last day on set, and we got to see a glimpse of Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. Here she is with Thor himself, Chris Hemsworth. With white facial markings and a badass hairdo, it's a hint to what we'll see in the film. Now, we've suspected that the Planet Hulk storyline would be a part of Thor Ragnarok, and we might have just gotten confirmation. Waititi introduced the Facebook Live audience to an actor who's playing Meek. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because Meek was one of the aliens from Sakaar who helped the Hulk. Now, the actor playing Meek wasn't in makeup, but that name can't be a coincidence, right? Watch the live video on Comicbook.com to see what other hints you can find. In WWE news, Hell in a Cell is this Sunday with a very unusual triple main event. We've got Roman Reigns versus Rusev for the US title, Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens for the Universal title, and Sasha Banks versus Charlotte for the Raw Women's title. Now, there's been a bit of a backlash against the triple main event. Why? Because Raw GM Mick Foley announced last week on his Facebook that Sasha and Charlotte would be the main event and close the show. Now, that would have been a massive moment in women's wrestling as it's the first women's match inside the cell. But shortly after that post, Foley changed his story, saying the match order for Hell in a Cell will probably not be finalized until hours before the actual show. Personally, I'm watching either way, but I'd love the women to close the show. It would make history, and honestly, it's the best storyline going on Raw. Oh, now, if you're like me and cry big old baby tears after Glenn's death in The Walking Dead, which you can see on our live stream, don't laugh, but I cried. I don't care. Then you aren't alone. Steven Yeun is on the cover of Entertainment Weekly this week, and his Walking Dead co-stars and creators shared some of their favorite emotional memories of Steven. Robert Kirkman described how Steven blacked out on his first day on set. No, he wasn't nervous. Kirkman had Yeun shoot a pickup shot from episode 4 of Glenn running back to grab Rick's hat. Well, after a lot of running back and forth, Yeun, who hadn't eaten that day, blacked out. Now, if that isn't a memorable first day, I don't know what is. My first day here, I watched Glenn get his head bashed in, so everything is full circle. Now, we're sad to see him go, but I'm excited to see where Steven Yeun goes from here. I said on Twitter, if he isn't in 458 films next year, I'm fighting everybody. Everybody. Now, speaking of The Walking Dead, if you haven't seen our newest show, Major Issues, first of all, what are you doing with your life? And second, my boy Chris Killian breaks down the first comic appearances of your favorite characters in Major Issues. And this week, it's Ezekiel from The Walking Dead. Now, one of you is going to win his first appearance in The Walking Dead 108, and that person is Reynaldo Carrington Sr. Congrats, Reynaldo, you are the proud owner of The Walking Dead 108. Now, I couldn't get them to throw in a tiger, but I'm gonna see what I can do next time. Make sure you are tuned into the next episode of Major Issues, where Chris will explore the first appearance of Robbie Reyes as the Ghost Rider. Now let's move on to some questions. Let me see. Boogie Williams wants to know, is there an after-credit scene for Doctor Strange? Yes, Boogie, there is. In fact, there are 2 after-credit scenes in Doctor Strange. I haven't seen them, but I've heard some things. But it's safe to say they will set up future films. Possibly Infinity War, maybe Thor Ragnarok. We shall see. I'm excited as you are. We're only a week away. Trey Avison wants to know, will Deadpool be in Infinity War? Well, as I mentioned earlier, Fox and Marvel are not really on friendly terms, so I don't think Deadpool will be in Infinity War. And now they're focused on finding a director for Deadpool 2, which, interestingly enough, John Wick director David Leitch is looking like the front runner. I'm sad to see Tim Miller go, but John Wick is one of my favorite movies. The fight choreography in that is stupid. So it would be cool to see what Leitch could do with Deadpool. Tommy Barnett wants to know, when will Wonder Woman be released? June 9th, 2017. I'm sorry, I'm like totally geeking out. Wonder Woman is finally coming to the screen. We might be getting another trailer with Doctor Strange and definitely with Fantastic Beast. And if you're wondering, I will be dressed in full Wonder Woman garb and crying tears of joy on opening night, so get ready for that. Wonder Woman is my favorite DC character of all time, and I've been obsessed with her since I was 3 years old. There might be some embarrassing pictures of me as a toddler. Reese Williams wants to know who my favorite MCU character is. This is hard, Reese. Before Captain America Civil War, which is a perfect film, by the way, I don't care if you disagree, it's perfect, I would have said Iron Man. I just think Robert Downey nails that character, that bravado, plus that vulnerability. I think it's one of the most well-rounded characters in the MCU. But after Civil War, it's a tie between Black Panther and Tom Holland's Spider-Man. 2 completely different portrayals, but Chadwick Boseman absolutely crushed T'Challa, and Tom Holland is the Spider-Man I envisioned in my head. So right now, Black Panther and Spider-Man. I'm going with them. I'm sticking to it. And that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching and welcoming me into the Comic Book Crew. Brandon will be back next week. Make sure to follow us on social media and check out ComicBook.com for all the latest news. And until next time, I'm Tori Yo, keeping you in the know.